Hi, today I wanted to respond to an article I read on Yahoo about a woman with the psychological issues. Her mom had called the police multiple times because she knew her daughter was struggling with mental health issues but didn't know what else to do. When I watched the video of the police interacting with the woman, it didn't seem like she was a danger to herself or to others, and I don't think her mom thought that she was a danger either. Even her so only the police officer in the last incident seems to think that she was a danger, probably because she was boiling water, and then she started rebuking the officer in the name of Jesus, and somehow that triggered a really angry reaction from him. So he probably maybe thought that she was gonna throw water at him, and he reacted very excessively, shooting her, which led to her death. And watching the video resonated really deeply with me because I've gone through a psychotic episode myself. Actually twice, during my first episode, which I only remember in parts, I think I kept on thinking I was fine. So I was coherent at the time, but looking back, I realized I wasn't okay mentally. Later that night, when I was talking to my family, the police arrived because, like, I kept on talking to them about the rapture. I kept on talking to them that we need to be here in this house and wait for it. So I wouldn't let anyone leave. And so, um, my family decided to call the police on me to actually take me out of the house and probably bring me back to my home. I don't know what their intention really was, but obviously they didn't want me to be jailed or anything like that. They just wanted me to go home. But however, the police arrived and then they spoke to me for a long time. And somehow my eyes were just like closed. Like I couldn't see anything. It was just all complete darkness. I don't know who were the police officers that I was talking to. I don't know what happened, but like I was just, my eyes were just shut. Like later on, my sister said like my dad put something in my drink to make me go to sleep or something, but I didn't go to sleep. I was talking like nonstop. And then so they spoke to me for a long time, and then after talking to my family, they still didn't think I was a threat to anyone. So while they couldn't arrest me, they decided to take me to a hospital. And then it was at the hospital where things shifted. I mentioned to my husband that during like that afternoon, I almost hurt our children. Like at one point, I believed that God was telling me to lay my baby in water, but I didn't know it was God. I kept on asking, "Are you God? Are you talking to me?" So I was just going along with what I thought God might have wanted me to do. But I didn't really hear voices. I just had thoughts like, oh, this is what I should do, this is what I should do. But I'm like, is this from you, God? I kept on asking that question. And so so at one point I thought that what I should do was lay my baby in water, and then he almost died of drowning. He was laying there, and then he was struggling, and then I knew I had this like voice that said, if you don't take him out, he will die. And then I snap out, and I'm like, I don't want my baby to die. Like before that, I'm like, is this you, God? Are you going to resurrect my baby? But it never clicked to me that he will die for real. And then when that thought, if you don't take the baby out, he will die, I just snapped, and I went, no, I have to take my baby out. And when I lay him on my shoulder, he coughed out water, and I just felt his body going like really limp. And at that point, I'm like, I almost killed my baby. And but that was what happened in during that psychotic episode. And then so I told my husband, I didn't tell him the details. I just said that I almost hurt, like I almost killed our baby. I think I actually said kill instead of hurt, and I think the police officer somehow heard that. And then so when or maybe the doctor, someone probably heard me talking about that, because then they wouldn't release me. They actually transferred me to a psychiatric unit. And at that time, I didn't believe that I needed to be there. I thought I was fine, but I wasn't. I was pleading to them like not to inject anything in me. I don't want to change my state of mind. But like the nurse, like, they told me, they didn't listen to my request. They made me stay there for 3 days, gave me my medication, and I drank the medication on time, because actually I'm like, I don't think I need this medication. But like my husband, during the hospital stay, it was already established that if I take the medication, then my husband and the doctor will be happy. So I'm like, okay, fine. I know it's not going to do anything to me, but I'm going to take it anyway, just so that you are assured. And so after that, even after 3 days, I thought I was fine, and then the psychiatrist was gonna let me leave. But then I asked him, I'm like, when I leave, can I stop taking medication? And he was like, why? And I'm like, oh, I just don't want it to mess with my mental state. And after that, the next day, he's like, no, you have to stay here. And so I was really convinced that I didn't need the help. And I took the medication just to make people happy, not because I thought it was necessary. And then, but that triggered something in the doctor, and he didn't want me to leave in with that kind of thought. And so my husband then later told me that when he spoke with the doctor, he actually asked for, when he visited me, he thought that I was fine too, and he asked the doctor if I can be released, and he thought I was well enough to come home. But then the psychiatrist like told him, no, just trust me. So that I wasn't ready. And looking back now, knowing what I know now, even after I was released, I wasn't fully okay. It took time, consistent medication, and effort to to regain my mental stability. Like, unfortunately, like after a few years of that, I relapsed into another psychotic episode, and largely this was triggered by my parents' relationship, and just a lot of factors contributed to both of my episodes. But the thing that I wanted to mention, like why I wanted to say all of this, is that when someone like me, when you're going through a psychotic episode, you truly believe that you're right and that everyone else is wrong. It's as if like for me, it's like I have a special connection with God. For example, right now, when I look back, there's nothing, like no voices, nothing that told me that it was God, or that state is a state that was closest to God. Like nothing. Like I kept on asking question, are you God, the whole time? So, but then somehow I wanted to believe in that state. I thought that state was me being close to God, even though there's no evidence of that happening. And so, like, but that's just the mental state that you are in. And the reality is, and that it's that you think that you have like some special knowledge or insight that other doesn't understand, that they don't understand what you're having right now. It's so special to you, but the reality is you need help, and in many cases you don't know it. And in the American system, right now, it makes it extremely difficult to get help unless you voluntarily need it, or you're deemed as, like, when you're only gonna get help when you're deemed as an immediate threat to yourself or to others. And this is actually the screen that captured like what it is today. And I know of a family member who is struggling because of this very thing. Is all voluntary. And so I'm sharing this because I want to encourage family members to be more proactive. If you think your loved one needs mental health care, just tell the police that they're a threat to themselves, so that even if you're not sure, it might be the only way to get them the help they need, at least for a few days in a psychiatric unit. And even then, it's not enough. After I got out, it was like months of taking medication where my mind can be like I can look back and say, yeah, that time it didn't look right. Like my mental state wasn't stable, you know, like, but at least it will help. And it, at least they might, like, they won't get into a situation where someone is gonna shoot them, you know, a police officer is gonna shoot them. I mean, through this whole video, they had many encounters with many very knowledgeable and understanding police. The police in here, when they were interviewing her up here, they were asking, can we help you? Can we take you? Can we get mental health resource for you? She just said, no, I got all I need. Like, in one of the situations right here, she said, I got all I need. I just need to go and do it. I mean, but because the emphasis is so, like, the family members are the ones suffering with people who have mental health issues. They know something's not right with them. For my case, my family didn't even know I need help. And then they just wanted to get her some mental help, and they can't because it's all voluntary. And this is like, so just tell the police, and hopefully you'll get a good police, and just tell them, like, I think if someone tell them that, you know, they're a threat to themselves, then the police will take them to a mental health clinic. And I think that's a loophole to this extremely I'm all about your freedom approach. And then, so it might be the only way to help them, to get them the help they need. And then hopefully then a good psychiatrist there, like what happened to me, can evaluate them and make the right decision about whether they need to stay there to get more care or not. So I think this is a very deeply flawed system, and I find it very infuriating. The world we live in today legalizes destructive things like fentanyl, while people who desperately need mental health care are left untreated unless they volunteer for it. How can someone in a psychotic episode be expected to make rational decisions about their own treatment? It's an upside down world where drugs are legalized, yet we can't get people the mental health support they need without violating their freedom. And not only that, people are like giving away free fentanyl and drugs to these people, actually contributing to their mental health crisis. And this freedom ends up with these people like me almost hurting my family. And there are other cases that I think where actual people is hurt, and their family, the family that I know of right now, they're just struggling with this day to day, and it doesn't help anyone. And so if you take anything away from this, I hope is the following. Please advocate for policy changes that make mental health care more accessible and proactive. We need laws that protect both freedom and health, and not like put freedom all the way up here and health like all the way down here. And so speak to your representatives about making dangerous drugs like fentanyl illegal again to reduce the cycle of addiction and mental health issue. I believe like when we legalize drug, mental health issues really went up. And we can't address the mental health issue without addressing the drug issue. My case, I wasn't using drug, but I watch like YouTube documentary where they show people who like get homeless and then they go into drug, and that drug really mess up their mental health, and then it become a vicious cycle that kills them in the end and breaks their body. And so if you have a loved one who's struggling, please use the system loophole that I just mentioned. Hopefully I don't have a experience with that, but hopefully that can it works for you. I'm just thinking like from what I see right here and from my experience that it might work for other cases too. And then uh, and that is by telling the police or anyone that you get help with that your loved one is a danger to themselves, so that they can at least be evaluated by a professional. And if they are a real danger to themselves or to other people, please do make the call. Just be careful that you're not in an abusive situation, because I think, like, for example, if a husband is really abusive to a wife and the wife calls on him and then he get put in the psychiatrist unit against his will, he might hold a grudge and want to harm her later. So there's just a lot of nuances and things to watch out for. But finally, if you know someone who's mentally ill and refusing help, it's best to distance yourself from them until they've demonstrated that they can be trusted. Again, like, for your own safety and theirs. And then the system might not be perfect, but hopefully these are made known. These stories are made known, and it can be changed somehow before another tragedy happens.